Tonight, it's a display of color at the Eagle Square in Abuja as the president joins other leaders and top government officials for a ceremonial parade to mark this year's Democracy Day. Speakers raised concerns on critical national issues at the second edition of the forum, a program of the Men's League of Christ Church in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Gunmen kidnapped Bishop of Jeba, Anglican Diocese in Kwara State, Right Reverend Oluwaseun Aderogba, his wife and driver, demand 50 million naira ransom. And court approves a UK government's first flight taking asylum seekers to Rwanda tomorrow.
On business news tonight, Stanbic IBTC survey shows Nigeria's Purchasing Managers Index declined to 53.9 points in May from 55.8 in April.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria's Super Eagles wallop Sao Tome and Principe in the AFCON qualifiers, putting 10 goals past their opponents.
And from Abuja, 11 kidnapped victims of the March 28 train attack, freed by their abductors on Saturday, reunite with their families in Kaduna.
Democracy Day celebrations continue today at the Eagle Square in Abuja as the president joined other prominent Nigerians in Abuja to celebrate the June 12 with a parade. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, President of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and members of Cabinet, among other top government personalities, witnessed the ceremonial parade, which included military and police march past in slow and quick time. Guests were also treated to a combined silent drill display by the armed forces and police involving complex marching sequences, which was a maiden introduction to the Parade Day event. Our State House correspondent, Gloria Umezuke, reports.
The 2022 Democracy Day celebration, the fourth since June 12, was officially declared a public holiday in 2018, kicked off with the arrival of President Muhammadu Buhari to the Eagle Square. As Nigeria's president, it would be his last inspection of guards on Democracy Day in a parade performed by 4 units, including the Army, Navy, Air Force, as well as the police. A significant crowd, including the President of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, former President Goodluck Jonathan, members of Cabinet, among other top government officials, students, as well as corps members, witnessed a ceremonial parade which included military and police march past, first in slow time. Then a transition to quick time.
Nigerian Army color, the Navy color, and the Air Force color carried by commissioned officers known as ensigns to the colors.
The female soldiers captivated the audience in a combat march display.
The Nigerian Army Women Corps is the first women corps in West Africa.
Our heritage of liberty.
Led by the commander, Lieutenant Vera Jacobs, Nigerian Army Women Corps, which has 2 special operational battalions to support the Nigerian Army operations, displayed their resilience on bike, primarily as a way to celebrate the International Women's Day and the UN Charter for Women Equality. The 2-hour event also engaged the audience with other performances like the Democracy Day playlet, illuminating the essence of unity.
What can you do with this cocoa?
Mama, hey, with my skills in trade and commerce, by the time I package and market this cocoa, Mama, I will make triple the quantity of this cocoa.
There's also the cultural troupe display from Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones, promoting unity, peace, and progress. A combined band and silence drill display with body and rifle synchronization by the armed forces and the police before finally advancing in a review order. The president concludes the colorful parade without a speech as he signed the June 12 anniversary register. Other personalities present disclosed their thoughts on the day.
For you to run a modern state, it must be based on democratic practices where citizens should have the right to select whoever will lead them at all levels. And we pray that as the years go by, our practice of democracy should consolidate and even improve more.
I believe that by the time we go the route of 24 years, we would have consolidated on all the gains of democracy. And you can see the amount of improvement that are being made with the electoral processes, which is one of the fundamental things that we need to do to deepen democracy and to make the contest fair, transparent.
The Assistant Director...
The main objective of a day like this is to ensure a positive reminder of June 12 instead of memories of pain, disenchantment or grief. Today, as we now know, it is symptomatic of unity and patriotism. For the president, it is a recommitment to freedom, particularly to victims of terrorism. From the Eagle Square, Abuja, Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
In its bid to raise awareness on issues of national interest, especially to drive mass participation of Nigerian youths in the electoral process, the Men's League of the Christ Church in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, has held its second edition of the Forum. This year's event played host to some major players in various industries who highlighted the kind of leaders, the economy and security structure the country should strive to put in place after the elections.
It's the second edition of the Forum, a non-partisan development fair organized by the Men's League of the Christ Church in Rivers State. It aims to raise awareness on critical issues of national interest, especially to drive mass participation in the electoral process and give a sense of direction to the youths. In line with the theme, What Do Nigerians Want?, Head Pastor Trinity House Itwa Godalo speaks on the President Nigeria needs.
We need to be strategic. We need to speak out. We need to be blameless. We need to get involved in this thing called politics. You cannot sit on social media doing politics, talking in beer parlor, talking at polo club, talking all over the place, just talking and complaining. Get involved in this thing and prove yourself that you want to be there.
The emphasis on electing the right president is echoed by the Attorney General of Oyo State, who highlights the need for restructuring and importance of practicing true federalism.
We must go back to the idea that the missionaries came with in addressing the physical needs, the material needs, and the spiritual needs of the people. That is why they were very successful. They were very selfless. And the idea of modern theology that focuses on the converted more than on the converted is something that we need to rethink.
The presentation is moved up to a more sensitive issue, which is security of lives and property, and Dr. Victoria Como suggests practical solutions.
The country desperately needs leaders with national perspective and an eagerness to change the nation. Good governance is the panacea to Nigeria's insecurity challenge. We need to overhaul our security architecture and put in place a security system that is technology-driven.
In demonstration of his commitment to holding public officers to account, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, joins virtually to speak on leadership in Nigeria.
The country is not doing anything. The country is not working. All the country is doing today is sharing. That's the only thing we do in Nigeria. The main crisis you face today is you're now in a situation where you're using over 90% of your revenue to service debt. No country, nobody, no individual, no country can survive with that.
This social engagement by the Men's League of the Christ Church in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, may no doubt be a positive change in the attitude of Nigerians, especially with enthusiasm among many religious leaders to participate in next year's election.
Former presidential aspirant on the platform of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, has dumped the party, citing clashes of values with its leadership. The former CBN deputy governor, in a statement, claims the party's action during the presidential primary in Abeokuta, Ogun State, led to what he describes as abuses of the electoral process, including delegate capture and financial inducement of delegates. Professor Moghalu explains that he has resisted pressures to join the APC or the PDP over issues of values and therefore can no longer be part of the ADC. The ADC held its primary in Abeokuta State, Abeokuta, Ogun State, where businessman and media entrepreneur Dumebi Kachuku was nominated to fly the party's flag next year. But ahead of Saturday's governorship election in Ekiti State, election monitoring group Yaga Africa has been expressing concern over some of the activities of political parties in the run-up to the poll. Yaga Africa says its findings reveal that politicians may be looking for ways to induce voters to circumvent INEC's strategies.
Sometimes when you scale up this issue about violence, it has its consequence on voter turnout. And politicians like to raise that, so that the more people don't come out, the more it is easier to manipulate the electoral process. So we are more interested in inspiring confidence in the voters that they should come out to vote, and if they come out to vote, the opportunity for manipulation and rigging of elections will gradually go down. The politicians are finding way around the new innovations that INEC is putting in place. So if you are reconfiguring the polling booths, it means that it's going to be difficult to pay voters on E-Day, on election day. So the new way is to get back to their houses in the bid to campaign to them and then induce them.
More politics. A group known as the APC Professionals Forum is throwing its weight behind the presidential flag bearer of the party, Mr. Bola Tinubu. The group applauds the conduct of the primary that led to his emergence, describing it as democratic and transparent. Speaking to journalists in Abuja, chairman of the Board of Trustees of the APC Professionals Forum says the capabilities of Mr. Tinubu cannot be questioned.
The forum thanks President Muhammadu Buhari for his non-interference in the process leading to the democratic and transparent convention that produced Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as APC's presidential candidate. B. We congratulate Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as our presidential flag bearer and his goodwill gesture towards his other contestants at the convention. C. The forum pledges our 100% support and commitment to massively mobilize for our candidate in the run-up to the 2023 presidential election. D. We urge our flag bearer to prioritize the roles and inclusion of professionals in his campaign. E. The forum urges the party leadership to use the success of the primaries as a turning point to re-engineer APC as an ideological one, not just a platform to win elections. F. The forum will continue its flagship program, APC Scorecard, with political office holders as a means of showcasing our achievements as a governing party as we head towards the general election.
The youth wing of the Christian Association of Nigeria is cautioning political parties against fielding presidential candidates and running mates of same religion, maintaining that such a decision is unhealthy for a multi-religious country such as Nigeria. President of the association, Mr. Belusochukwu Enwere, told journalists at the National Christian Center in Abuja that any political party that fields a Christian ticket or a Muslim presidential ticket in 2023 is on a mission to fail. But in part two, after the break, address security challenges to ensure peaceful conduct of the 2023 elections. The Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace challenges the federal government. We'll have that in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories this hour. A display of color at the Eagle Square in Abuja as the president joins other leaders and top government officials for a ceremonial parade to mark this year's Democracy Day. Speakers raised concerns on critical national issues at the second edition of the Forum, a program of the Men's League of Christ Church in Port Harcourt, River State. Gunmen kidnapped Bishop of Jeba, Anglican Diocese in Kwara State, Right Reverend Oluwaseun Aderogba. His wife and driver demand 50 million naira ransom. And a court approves UK government's first flight taking asylum seekers to Rwanda tomorrow. We can tell you more now about the youth wing of the Christian Association of Nigeria cautioning political parties on the presidential candidates and running mates of the same religion, maintaining that such decision is unhealthy for a multi-religious country such as Nigeria.
In the spirit of ethno-religious balancing and to foster integration and national unity amongst all tribes, Nigeria needs oneness and togetherness. And we plead to all the presidential candidates that it is time for you to prove that you will be able to lead Nigeria well. It is time for you to show that you are not for one particular religion, you are for all. When we have a president that is a Muslim, the next in command, second in command must be a Christian. When we have a Christian as the first in command, the second will be a Muslim. That is how it's supposed to be for equity, fairness, and justice. We must be able to do things to balance religion in Nigeria. When we have a Christian Muslim ticket, it will balance the equation. And we are saying that any party, be it APC, PDP, ABGA, or any other party that fields any candidate that with the same religion is bound to fail. And we are serious, and we are not going back on this. If you field a Christian ticket, you are about to fail. If you field a Muslim ticket, you are about to fail.
More on politics, political candidates or presidential candidates of the Young Progressives Party, Malik Ado Ibrahim, is lending his voice towards addressing the security situation in the country. He believes traditional rulers are the most important part of the country's security structure and should not be neglected. Mr. Ado Ibrahim was speaking to our political correspondent, Terry Ikumi.
We have had a serious misstep by not doing what we were good at. Our traditional rulers are in the most important part of our security infrastructure. See, the traditional rulers live amongst the people. They're not governors that live in the state cap. They live amongst their people. And so they know when something is wrong. They know when somebody has kidnapped somebody and put them in a village hut. The intelligence they grab is enormous. But when a local government chairman can move a traditional ruler, or when a 8-year term governor can destroy a dynasty of over 200 years and split it into 4, we are doing ourselves, we're not only just eroding our history and destroying it, we're eroding our infrastructure of security as well. So I believe that under a presidency such as mine, I would try to re-establish the Traditional Rulers Council. So they have direct access to the presidency. They have direct access to the management of the presidency, so we get good intel. We know where there's soil erosion. We know where there are issues with clashes. We can get first-hand knowledge very, very quickly, not before it escalates into something bad, but to nail it at its inception. So I'm a big believer that the traditional rulers have a significant part to play in where we are. We took on a political system that was not ours. We took an American system and said, let's just do this. They don't have tribes. They don't have the deep religious divisiveness that we have. And so we failed. And we should have taken part of our old and mixed it with the new. And I've studied this enough to know that unless those structures, and the structures of the churches and the mosques and the religious leaders, to have access to leadership is key in keeping this country where it needs to be, which is a calm, peaceful nation, which we are.
You can watch the full interview with Mr. Malik Ado Ibrahim on the political paradigm as tomorrow, June 14th at noon, right here on Channels Television. The Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace is raising concern that 2023 elections may be impossible to undertake if the government does not firmly address the nation's security challenges. The group says the federal government is not doing enough to tackle insecurity. At a press conference in Abuja, it condemned the spate of kidnappings and banditry in parts of the nation.
We regret that our Commonwealth is used for the well-being of government officials, politicians, security agencies, and workers with no positive impact on the security of lives and property of citizenry. We are particularly troubled that these destructions now know no boundaries. Places of religious worship are no longer exempted. We recall the mother of over 40 defenseless worshippers in Owo, Ondo State, Nigeria, on Pentecost Sunday. In like manner, a Muslim woman and her 4 children were recently murdered in Anambra State. Based on experience, we wonder if anyone will ever be apprehended and brought to book for these heinous crimes against humanity. We call on government to do more than its usual condemnation of these killings and the issuance of condolence messages to injured victims and families of the dead, and take concrete steps to stem them.
We'll remain a bit longer in Abuja. Here's Malpe Ogun with more stories. Hi, Malpe.
Hello, Amara. Well, it's the same set of stories because security, they're all security related. The gunmen who abducted the Anglican Bishop of Jebba Diocese, Right Reverend Oluwaseun Aderogba, his wife and driver, are demanding the sum of 50 million naira as ransom before they will be released. That's according to the Kwara State Diocesan Bishop of the Anglican Communion, Bishop Sunday Adewale, who confirmed that the abductors contacted the church demanding the said amount. Bishop Aderogba and his team were abducted along the new Oyo-Ogbomoso Road in Oyo State after their vehicle broke down at an isolated spot along that axis on their way to Jebba in Kwara State from Yewa in Ogun State.
The bishop left he was coming from the place in Ogun State, and he got to where he had his car breaking down. He was standing by the car to look for how to fix the car or tow it to a nearby when they came, and he was kidnapped. They've contacted the church and they were demanding 50 million from us. Where do we get 50 million? Where do we get it? Are we going to sell the church? It is true, some people may be living flamboyant or outrageous life in the pastoral circle. But we should not take a part for a whole. We should not judge every other person because a particular person is living flamboyantly. I don't have 1 million in my account. Where are we going to get 50 million?
Well, it's a similar situation in Plateau State where the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria in Jos East local government area, Reverend Jace Kantoma, has also been kidnapped by gunmen, and his abductors are demanding for 50 million naira as ransom. Channels Television gathered that the priest was abducted on Sunday night at his residence in Angwari community after the gunmen invaded the area, shooting sporadically and eventually capturing their victim to an unknown destination. Although the police is yet to comment on the abduction, the chairman of CAN in Plateau State, Reverend Father Polycarp Lubo, confirmed the incident. And while some have been abducted, it's home sweet home for the 11 kidnapped victims of the March 28 train attack in Kaduna State, who were freed on Saturday after they reunited with their families in Kaduna. They were set free by the abductors after over 2 months in captivity, leaving 50 others still held captive by the terrorists. It was gathered that the 6 females and 5 males were freed on health grounds. 8 people lost their lives, while 26 others sustained injuries during the attack on the Kaduna-bound train from Abuja.
The joy in this room knows no bounds. It's hugs and kisses for this lady, identified as Amina. Ecstatic family members in warm embrace of their loved ones who were recently freed by their abductors after spending over 2 months in captivity following the Kaduna train attack. A part of her is happy to be here, but her heart is still heavy as her husband is among the 50 still being held hostage.
If we say we're going to quantify our joy, it will be an understatement. The whole family is very, very happy, and you can see the mood around the family, though the happiness is not complete because one of us is still there with them, and we're just praying to Almighty Allah to see a day that we're going to reunite with Him too.
I feel very happy and grateful to Almighty God, and I also thank the federal government and all security agencies for the efforts they have put in to rescue our loved ones. We received 11 of our relatives in captivity today, and we are happy for this. Some of them are not in very good condition of health, and we are taking them to the hospital to receive further medical attention.
There are some like this middle-aged woman who sustained some injuries and requires assistance to walk. As the people celebrate, they call on the government to put in more effort to get others out.
Our appeal is to the federal government to also intensify their efforts to see to the rescue of others, 50 that are still in captivity, very soon.
The trauma of the Kaduna train attack may linger in their minds for some time, but their freedom has certainly brought some relief to them.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Stanbic IBTC survey indicates Nigeria's Purchasing Managers Index declines to 53.9 points in May from 55.8 in April. That's on Business News. You join us again. Welcome back. The death toll from Sunday's attack by suspected herdsmen on Benue communities have risen to 13. The rise in casualty figure comes after 3 more bodies were recovered from the scene of the attack. This was confirmed to Channels Television by the chairman of Opoku local government area of Benue State, Mrs. Amina Audu, while providing an update on the situation, especially with the challenge of the internally displaced persons camped at Ojakpo axis of the local government. Mrs. Amina further explains that the locals have provided some food and non-food items to the IDPs at Ojakpo, pending the arrival of more humanitarian aid to the people. And perhaps a little light on the horizon as the Academic Staff Association of Universities, ASU, have resumed its meeting with the federal government to continue negotiations towards resolving the impasse between the lecturers and the government. A senior official of ASU who confided in our labor correspondent explained that the meeting is specifically with the Professor Nimi Briggs Committee, which was constituted by the federal government to renegotiate the 2009 agreement with the university lecturers. According to him, ASU is unhappy with the slow pace of negotiations as the Professor Briggs Committee's mandate to resolve the impasse ended last week, June the 7th, without any tangible results to warrant suspending the ongoing strike. ASU has been on strike since February the 14th this year over the adoption of the Integrated Personnel Payroll Information System, IPIS, as the payment system in the university sector, poor funding of universities, non-payment of salaries and allowances of some members, as well as the inability of the government to pay earned academic allowances to lecturers. And that's all from Abuja. It's back now to Amarachi.
Thanks, Malpe. And the look is electricity distribution across the country following another collapse of the national grid. Major cities across Nigeria, including the Federal Capital Territory, have been experiencing blackouts since Sunday. The affected cities include Jos, Enugu and Lagos, among others. In various notices to their customers, the electricity distribution companies in these states exposed that the collapse occurred on Sunday evening, which has affected their ability to provide service. Sunday's collapse is the latest in the series of breakdowns of the national grid since the beginning of the year. The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, says it's issued a code of practice for interactive computer service platforms as well as internet intermediaries, including online platforms. According to a statement by the agency, the code of practice is an intervention to recalibrate the relationship of online platforms with Nigerians in order to maximize mutual benefits for the nation while promoting a sustainable digital economy. A statement adds that the new code mandates online platforms to provide a comprehensive compliance mechanism to avoid publication of prohibited contents and unethical behavior on their platform. Some of the conditions listed by NITDA include registration with Corporate Affairs Commission, avoiding legal modification of digital platforms, compliance with court orders requesting investigation, and deleting obscene images in 24 hours after complaint has been registered, among others. Unilever Nigeria PLC, makers of Omo detergent, is reaching out to the less privileged in the three cities of Lagos, Ilorin and Abuja, following a closed donation campaign launched during the last Ramadan season. Well, here in Lagos, a brand manager, Mrs. Chinonyerem Okpara, presented the donated clothes and other products to a community non-governmental organization, Victoria's Foundation, for onward distribution to the needy.
Giving back to people in the society is what has drawn Unilever Nigeria to the Victoria's Foundation in Lagos. Through its Omo Detergent Lend a Hand of Care campaign, the company is delivering pre-loved clothes to the underprivileged.
We call these pre-loved clothes because at some point in time, they were the clothes we saw, we loved, and we bought to use. But over a period of time, we are unable to wear them for one reason or the other. We asked for donation of these pre-loved clothes because we wanted to give back to the society.
These are the earnings from a social media announcement for clothes donor for onward distribution to those who need it.
In addition to the clothes, we brought some product packs as well. On behalf of Unilever and the Omo brand, we are handing over all this to you, to your foundation.
For Victoria's Foundation, it will do its part of the deal.
We are really happy, and we are grateful to the brand for this huge impact, and we promise that this would get to the people that the brand also wants to reach out to, which is the less privileged people, so we would deliver.
This campaign is not limited to Lagos. There is a formal handover in Abuja.
Omo as a brand drives the campaign to say dirt is food. When we say dirt is food, we say, okay, because you can't avoid children playing, they'll get dirty, their clothes get dirty. So what did we say? Say, okay, we have prepared a brand that will support you, that will help you in this space to clean them and prepare, make them fresh again, good hygiene, good fragrances, and that's what Omo is about. So what have we done? We washed this clothes in Omo with freshness and also propagate good hygiene.
And Ilorin, Kwara State is where the Omo Detergent Lend a Hand of Care campaign wraps up.
On behalf of Omo, a brand of Unilever Nigeria PLC, I present this pre-loved clothes, which is over 5,000 here, and some other items from Unilever Nigeria PLC to Home and Street Kids Welfare Initiative.
Unilever's largest detergent brand, Omo, is in the business of taking action that positively impacts people and communities.
Let's segue into more business news. Here's Anne Mawodo.
Thanks a lot, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with the Purchasing Managers Index for the month of May. It stood at 53.9, coming down from 55.8 that it was in the month of April. The headline PMI signaled a 23rd consecutive monthly improvement in business conditions in Nigeria's private sector. New orders continued to rise sharply, which prompted a quicker expansion in headcounts. In turn, sentiment improved, with companies also hoping that fruitful marketing campaigns will support output growth over the next 12 months. Private sector output at Nigerian firms rose for the 18th month in a row during the month of May. Although solid, the rate of growth softened from April to an 8-month low. All four of the monitored subsectors recorded marked expansions led by the manufacturing sector, services, the wholesale and retail and agriculture, followed by firms also continuing to raise purchasing activities, with expansions now seen in each of the last 23 months. Input inventories held in the Nigerian private sector expanded solidly in the month of May, thereby extending the period of growth to 23 months. Strong demand encouraged firms to increase their stockpiles, and that said the rate of expansion softened from that April recording. The Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, says the country will begin local production of uniforms for its military and paramilitary personnel from January next year. According to the ICRC, the production project is a collaboration between the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria and the corporates where SAR Corporate Wear, which will span a concession period of 20 years. The ICRC also says the project will curb capital flight and create over 900 jobs, adding that all raw materials are expected to be sourced within the country. Mainstreaming fisheries and agriculture into national agricultural and investment plans, both at the national and regional levels, has been described as a tool for enhancing the subsector's contribution to national development. At a meeting in Abuja, the nation's capital, the director in charge of fisheries and agriculture and aquaculture at the Ministries of Agriculture and Rural Development, Ime Umo, explains that protecting its value chain also remains key in addressing challenges of youth unemployment and shortfall in foreign exchange earnings for Nigeria and the African Union. Total assets under the contributory pension scheme rose by 640 billion naira in the 4 months to 14.06 trillion naira in the month of April. And this was contained in the National Pension Commission's latest report titled Unaudited Reports on Pension Funds Industry Portfolio for the period ended 30th of April 2022. The funds, which ended December the 31st, 2021 at 13.42 trillion naira, rose to 13.61 and 13.76 trillion naira at the end of January and February this year. It also rose to 13.88 trillion naira by the end of March this year, and that's according to data. Now, with those numbers, we'll end business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawodo. The rest of News at 10 continues now with Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Anne. When the News at 10 returns, court approves a UK government's first flight taking asylum seekers to Rwanda tomorrow. We'll have that on the foreign scene. Please join us again. Welcome back. And just one more political story is the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Professor Peter Omiadi, has nominated Mr. Abdullahi Mohammed Koli as his vice presidential candidate for the upcoming elections next year. A statement by Professor Omiadi's campaign organization says Mr. Koli is a frontline labor union activist and social crusader who has led many struggles for the welfare of Nigerian workers in his capacity as chairman of Nigeria Labour Congress in Bauchi State from 1999 to 2002. Mr. Koli's nomination comes ahead of the June 17 deadline set by INEC for submission of party candidates to its online portal. Appeal court judges in the UK have ruled that the government's first flight taking asylum seekers to Rwanda can go as planned on Tuesday. Their decision supports a previous decision by the High Court that it was in the public interest for the government to carry out its policies. Simon Pusey has other stories from around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. US campaigners have welcomed a potential cross-party deal on gun safety reforms, but stressed the proposals do not go far enough. The plans include tougher checks for buyers under the age of 21 and cracking down on illegal gun purchases were announced by a cross-party group of US senators on Sunday. Crucially, the proposals are supported by 10 Republicans, meaning they have the numbers to be voted into law. President Joe Biden also said the plans were steps in the right direction, but they fell far short of what he and many Democrats have been calling for. The regional governor of Severodonetsk says the city will be cut off from the rest of Ukraine if Russia destroys the last remaining bridge. Ukraine's President Zelensky says his forces are fighting for literally every meter. Ukraine says its forces have been pushed out of the city centre due to a significant advantage in artillery. Meanwhile, according to local separatist media, at least 3 people, including a child, were killed and 4 injured in a Ukrainian artillery strike on a market in the Russian-backed separatist Ukrainian region of Donetsk. The iconic facade of Moscow's Bolshoi Theatre has been flooded with patriotic colours as part of official celebrations to mark Russia Day. The light show showed the colours of Russia's national flag, white, blue and red, on the front of the world-famous theatre. Local authorities called the show a light illusion in 3D and said that some 60 powerful projectors had been used to create the show on the fronts of the Bolshoi and the government buildings. Russia Day marks the adoption of the Declaration of State Sovereignty of the then Soviet Republic of the Russian Federation on June the 12th, 1990. French President Emmanuel Macron is at risk of losing his outright majority after a strong challenge from a coalition of left-wing parties in National Assembly elections. Jean-Luc Mélenchon's left-green alliance finished neck and neck with Mr. Macron's Ensemble in terms of votes cast in Sunday's first round. The president faces a battle in next week's second round to win 289 seats and keep his majority. Turnout was a historically low 47.5%. The leader of India's main opposition party, Sonia Gandhi, has been admitted to hospital in New Delhi with health issues related to COVID-19.
As a woman and mother, I understand how you feel.
The party tweeted the announcement but gave no other details. Italian-born Gandhi, widow of former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, is the longest-serving president of the Congress Party, which ruled India for decades after its founders led the country to independence from British colonial rule in 1947. Rebels in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo claim to have captured the border town of Bunagana near Uganda. The claim follows heavy fighting between the army and rebels that on Monday saw some government soldiers cross over to Uganda. The Democratic Republic of Congo authorities have not yet commented on M23's claim. A statement on Sunday night had said they repelled an attack by the rebels in Bunagana. The UN says that more than 30,000 people have been displaced by the latest fighting. And the film Jurassic World Dominion has roared to the top of the theatrical box office over the weekend in both North America and China.
What is that?
Universal's latest dinosaur adventure grossed $143 million from 4,676 cinemas in its North American box office debut. This compares to 2015's Jurassic World that opened with $208 million and saw $1.6 billion in global sales. In China, where cinemas partially reopened following a recent COVID outbreak, the movie took $53 million in just 3 days. That's the equivalent to 88% share of the total weekend market, and it's the strongest opener for a Hollywood film so far in 2022. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Nigeria's Super Eagles hammered Sao Tome and Principe 10-0 to record their highest win in the African Nations Cup qualifiers. Eagles hitman Victor Osimhen scored 4 of the goals in the game. Elsewhere, Guinea-Bissau were held to a 2-2 draw by Sierra Leone, and after match day 2, Nigeria leads the group with 6 points. Italian defender Giorgio Chiellini has joined MLS side Los Angeles FC following his departure from Juventus. Chiellini left the Serie A side Juve at the end of the season after a 17-year career with the Turin club, where he finished 3rd on the club's all-time appearances list behind Alessandro Del Piero and Gigi Buffon. And that sports news is back to you, Marachi.
Thanks a lot, Ayatunde. And the main news again. It was a display of colour today at the Eagle Square in Abuja as the presidents joined other leaders and top government officials for a ceremonial parade to mark this year's Democracy Day. That is the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.